So I wanted to do this project in Dad's studio, Geoffrey's studio, partly as a homage to him since he died, and also because he taught me much of the things that I know about ceramics when I worked with him at Fawley Bottom when he was working with John Piper. Also I wanted to explore and revisit those times and explore some of my own ideas. And it's about the possibility of clay. On one level, it's just about exploring the materiality of clay, what it is, this earthy material comes out of the earth. So some of the things are just about that, really, rolled forms with black iron oxide on the surface and mixed into the clay. So very elemental. But the other thing about ceramics, which has always bothered me really since I've been doing it, is about the limitations of clay, the limitations of ceramics, I should say, in that it's once you fire a piece of pottery, it becomes changed chemically. It's a different material. It's hard and permanent, and in fact will last thousands of years. And of course, that's exploited by many potters. But for me, it seems to be an end to the matter. So a fired piece of work doesn't have any longer the potential for change, the dynamic aspect to it, which could lead to other things. So I always felt there's that tension there. So I wanted to do this work as a way of exploring that idea of both the possibility of clay and the limitations of clay. So that really is what this project's about for me.
What's that?
That is nickel, copper, rutile, magnesium and cobalt. Teapot brown. No, that's from cocoa. That's worked.
It's come out. Amazing. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not quite as
some of those dishes now.
It's not quite as deep and the kind of variegated crystally, but who knows
I think because he did, yeah, and he did oxides underneath as well, so that would have given it more variation.
Yeah. This one then. Oh, that's Rococo as well.
That's too thin, isn't it? That's what happens when it goes thin, yeah, sort of browny colour. The Leon K. Smith hasn't worked for it, has it? I think it's lost.
It's lost something.
Something black with
the copper. That's great.
That's nice, isn't it? So what I'm doing now, these are plaster moulds that Geoff used for making pots. These are slip cast moulds, so you would have had the two halves would fit together like that. And they'd be strapped up, and then the liquid slip would be poured in, and you'd leave it for a few minutes. So he did quite a lot of that with porcelain in the 70s, mainly in the 70s and into the early 80s. But all the moulds and some press moulds are all stacked up in the next room, and I'm using them as a kind of way of making something that remembers these pots. So I'm literally taking these slabs of cut clay and laying them into the mould. It makes a kind of wavy shape. I'm taking this out before I've dried it, but that's the kind of thing that you get. So this piece is made with two thin slabs of clay pressed into a mould that Geoffrey used to make these cylindrical shaped pots. So the yellow ochre colour is an ash glaze, iron ash, which we've remade from his original recipe. It also contains ash from a bonfire where we burned old bank statements and letters and other documents that we didn't want anymore, that Pat and Geoff had left, and so that ash is contained in this glaze to make these pieces. And that would give us about
that would give us exactly a kilo.
A kilo, yeah.
And that's not that much.
A kilo of dry materials, no, maybe not.
It's not going to do all of those. So and that's still only going to give.
Well, let's do that. Kilo and a half, and then you can use it afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So we know it works.
Yeah.
50, 70, 5. You got the dolomite? China clay.
Yeah.
Flint 75. 75. So did you make it with zircon to start with?
No, I crossed that out. That was the original recipe, but I just swapped it for tin.
Alright, so we're going to put 10% tin. Is this some old tin that we've been using?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the weighing done. Yeah, so these rings are some kind of architectural system, or they might be industrial units, I'm not quite sure what, but they all stack together. That's the bottom, and they're going to be glazed with a white tin glaze, so it's earthenware. But just around the edges I'm doing this, what I hope will be a sort of coppery bronze colour. But it's a bit of an experiment because we haven't tried it before. Don't know how much to do, but got to wax the rims so that they fit inside each other. So I placed this piece of cut clay on a mixture of iron filings and copper oxide. It's a kind of experiment, don't really know what's going to happen, but I wanted this kind of raw black surface, just pure mineral surface, to make these elemental folded forms. So I'm trying to just make the piece in one movement. It's quite hard to know what's going to happen, but just rolling it over. It's a little bit unstable. And then I'm going to fire them to an earthenware temperature, because the iron filings will probably just melt at some certain point, which is part of the reason for doing it, but it's unpredictable, so don't want to push it too far.